Hello. If you're doing the weekly advanced revision, what you'll need is the links to the practice videos if you need them, and the links to the actual resources themselves. So you've gone through all of the videos for the advanced spreadsheets ICDL qualification, or you're going through it step by step. So what you can do is you can go through the weekly revision step by step or all in one go. It's entirely up to you. So what you're doing is making sure that even though you've watched the videos, you're actually learning what's going on. You're not just watching them. That's not enough for some people to actually be able to reproduce that task in something else. So you need to practice it. So this will give the opportunity to practice it. If you've paid for this course, you'll be sent these links and able to get in on YouTube. If you're a university staff or student, you'll be able to get on as well. So this is really to back up what you're learning. The other thing is you may not want to do the weekly revision. You might take some of the tasks that you've been looking at with regard to the video-based learning, and you may just go straight ahead and apply them to whatever it is that you need to do. Entirely up to you. They're here to use whichever way you wish, and hopefully they'll be clearing up a few things with regard to the exam if that's what you're going for. Okay, thank you very much. This is a practice that you can watch, so it should look like this, but there is a solution there as well. And we're going to start at chart section 15, so way down now, coming towards the end. And it's questions 39 to 48, so we're starting with charts here. Same as I've done before, I'm going to read the question out. We're going to find the right area in the folder, the right workbook or worksheet, and apply what it's asking. So this one, question 39, we're assuming we're in the revision workbook because that's where most of them are, and we're continuing in there, and we're going to start with the chart worksheet. It's asking us to fill the blue coloured columns in the chart with the image from the sales GIF. Then there's another worksheet, SVP chart worksheet, which is asking us to delete the data series for March from the chart. And then in the TVS chart worksheets, there's 3 of them, change the chart type for turnover data series only to be a line chart. So let's have a look. You need to take your time if you're in the exam, obviously. I'm going to come back now. Let's go into these weekly revisions and the files themselves, and then the revision workbook. Now remember, there's lots of worksheets in here. I'm not going to update, so we don't want it messing around. These are the green ones. I've come all the way along, way back, and the chart one is here. So that's the first one, and it wants us to fill in the blue, the turnover data series, with a GIF called sales. So I'm going to right click, go into the fill, through there into the picture, and then instead of going onto the internet, we're going to browse. In the exam, you would be browsing into your Z drive. I'm going to my desktop to make life easier, and into my weekly revision files to find my sales GIF. Double click on it and it automatically fills. So remember, when you right click, you can go this way and through the fill there. Another part of that question is to do with the next worksheet, to make sure that you're on the right worksheet and the right area in the spreadsheet, because sometimes they can put more than one chart together on one worksheet. This one is asking us to delete March, which is Mar here. So remember, we can click on the chart, get the tools to come up, into the design area, data select, take out March for both. Okay, and it's gone, disappeared, nice and easy. Next part of the question, the TVS chart, is asking us to change the turnover only, which is the sales, this one. So I'm changing this to a line chart. So I'm going to right click, change the series. I'm not going to pick line up there because if I do, they will both change. So I'm going to make sure that I'm on the right one, which is sales. Turnover is actually, no, turnover. Okay, and that's the one that's the line, as you can see all the way up there. So you've got to make sure you really do pick the right one. I originally thought I was on sales. Got to read it carefully. Okay, it through, and then it should look like that. All right then, so the next question, we're going to come back down to our
question paper, and we're on question 40. So on the axis worksheet, plot the sales data series on a secondary axis. We can do that. And then format the position of the turnover data labels to appear at the inside end and set the minimum value for the turnover value axis. We're doing quite a lot of things here. To be 0, the maximum value to be 60,000 and the major unit to be 10,000. Note that the value axis is vertical axis, whereas category axis is horizontal. Right, so let's do this one. Back to our spreadsheet, axis worksheet. Let's bring it down a bit so you can see. Okay, so on the axis worksheet, we've got to plot the sales data series on a secondary axis. So we can right click here, format data series, and pop it there, and that's come up here. Position the turnover data, which is the blue. So we've got to find out where we're going to put those, the inside end. So the best way to do that is go through your chart elements, click on your data label and find inside end. So we've done that. If we just right click, remember, and they will just go on the outside end by default. Then we've got to change the y-axis, which is here. So we're going to right click format axis. We've got a minimum of 0, which it is on the, here we've got 60,000. So that's correct for the maximum, and the major unit is going to be 10 and 4 zeros, which is correct. So we've done that. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go onto the budget info worksheet. Just bring this down. Let's take this out. It's a bit clearer. And what we've been asked to do here, let's go back to the question so that we can read it together. Question 41. Apply a setting to the chart so that the figures on the vertical value axis are displayed in units of 1,000 with a label. Do not alter the numbers that feed into the chart. So that's more simple than it sounds, I think. So we've got our chart, bring that up, and we're going to apply 1,000 label to it. So if we right click here, go into the format axis, pop down here, and there's our 1,000. Bring it over if you can't see it. 1,000 labels here. You can see the 1,000 goes on. The data changes. We've done nothing else, and that's that job done. So the sales info worksheet, remember the question we've got is to add in the data, that's the July sales is what it's after to the existing chart. Nice and easy, right click, remember the edit, select data area, which is also up here in the design tab, and then make sure that it includes, you can see the hashed flashing at the top, make sure that it includes July, which it should do now down there, which it has, and then OK, and July is added. So that was a nice straightforward one. Okay, moving on to section 16, data tables. We've got question 43. In the loan worksheet, create a data table in cell range B11 to C28. Calculate the relevant monthly payment for the loan, £50,000, based on the interest rates variables on the first column of the table. Let's go into loan. Let's do it in here. Let's bring it down a little bit. So if I remember, I'm sure you will, it needs to have a function or a formula in there to work. And there's a function there. So do you remember how we bring it in? We're going to link it in rather than copy and paste. So we're going to use an equal sign, click on where the functional formula is and enter it. And that way now we are ready to highlight correctly that cell range it talked about, which is B11 down to C28, which includes this function. Okay, so remember we go to the data tab, what if analysis, data table, and you look to the spreadsheet for the answer because all the information is going to be on there, and we're completing the column, so we're going to use the interest rate in the column input cell. And there you go. Remember, you cannot undo on this one. It's one of those you can't undo. So if you get it wrong, you need to delete that data out again. Because remember, control key above the grave accent, you can see that it uses a different way of doing things. So you would have to do that again. And you can see that 8% would be the same figure as the top. So that's that one done. And move on now to the next one. So back to our question and question 44. So this is the loan table worksheet. Create a data table in cell range B11 to D28 this time. Calculate relevant monthly payments, £50,000 based on the terms and months variables on the first row of the table and the interest rate variables on the first column of the table. So it's a 2-column input table. Once again, I see there's no functional formula in here. All it is data, and there's my formula or function there. So I'm going to link it, make sure that's included. Highlight the whole area, G28 this time. Same feature, what if analysis, data tables. This time I know my column input is going to be the interest rates, and my row input is going across and it's terms per month. So it's the number of payments. Okay, job done. Doesn't take long once you get the idea. Remember, delete it out if it's gone incorrectly. It does happen. Redo it before you click on the answer and it will be fine. You won't be penalised at all for doing that. Okay, moving on to the next question. Macros. Question 45. So in the hockey worksheet, select cell range A1 to I1. Check it as I, not L. We'll find out. Record a macro called formatting and store the macro in this workbook. The macro will change the cell fill color to black and the cell text content color to white. And we need to change it to a 20. So A1 to L, it is an I, we're right, so it's not an L, it's an I. Otherwise it would look like that, wouldn't it? So let's do the job. So the first thing I've got to make sure I've got my developer tab on. If I'm in an exam, I will. If not, remember, File, Options, into the Customize ribbon, and you will find it just there. Just tick that box, and it'll come up. So I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to do some colour changes, so I make sure I know where I'm going. I've got a colour white there and a background black. Right, so before I start, let's go to my developer tab. Let's record name. I've got the name formatting. Keep in my head. It's in this workbook, so I'm following that as well. And then when I OK, I've got my stop down here. So let's get on with the job. So that's automatically clicked on the whole range, which is helpful. Into the home. Let's do the black background first. And then let's do the white text colour. And then I've got to remember to change it to 20 in case I forget. And then stop the macro. And that's done. And I can even go and have a sneaky look, which I probably wouldn't do in the exam, but I could go and have a look, see if it's there, and there it is. Okay, good. So now we're moving on to the next one. I'm just going to bring these over so we can see there's not many left now. Okay. So the next one's going to be question 46. Let's go to our questions. There we come. Question 46. In the audits worksheet, fill a colour of your choice into the cells that are precedent cells for the formula in E5. Identify the cells that are dependent cells to the formula in C5 and highlight them in bold. Okay, so let's go into our audits worksheet. So the first one we're doing is going to be in E5, which is that one. So select E5, and we're going to trace, remember we go to Formulas tab and then trace precedent there, and you can see that that has got the arrows. Now we're online here, so the problem is that when you're in a live version, you can't see where those arrows are, but you can see them in the exam. So in the exam, you wouldn't have to bold that whole area. So you would be bolding B4 through to E4 to show that. So you could remove the arrow and then you could just bold that area. But in the exam, you don't need to because it would show that that area was there. And then select C5, this one here, and it wants you to trace dependence on that. So back to here and trace dependence, and then you would just bold those ones. It's dead easy. In the exam, all you do is do the job, rest of the question, because I'm sure it's not on its own, and then just hit answer. Moving on to validation, let's look back on our question. So the validation worksheet, apply validation criteria to the cell range B5 to B8. So only a whole number between 5,000 and 8,000 can be entered. We're going to do an input message to that area, and we've got a title, data restriction, and an input message of enter whole number between there and there. Okay, I'm going to cheat and copy that so I don't have to type. So B5, excuse me, B5 to B8 is the area we're applying it to. So we highlight that. Data tab, data validation here. Whole number, it's between 5, make sure your number block's on, in the test, 5,000 and 8,000. Input message, I'm going to paste in there, and in here I'm going to type data restriction. Check my spelling. All good. No error message. Could be in the exam though, so watch that. OK through, and then what you should see is you see them hovering above there when you do it. Right, we're on to the final question in the weekly revision. I'm going to close this. I'm not going to save. And we're going to be looking at the copy of flights and the flights. And this is the compare and merge exercise. So I'm going to open up the flights. Okay, so we've got the flights open. You can see it's shared. We have our compare and merge on the toolbar. So we're going to click on there. Go to desktop. Find the other copy of flights in our weekly revision exercise. There it is there. And then very quickly it changes that 5 to a 10. So that's what's in the other document. And you should see that in the exam as well, that little tracking change, little arrow in the corner. Remember the compare and merge if you've forgotten how to get it and you're working from home. File, and then you actually we need to probably we'll put it onto your quick access toolbar. So I'm just going to drag it away if I can. Go into more commands, it won't come off there. Remember, it's in commands not in the ribbon. And then what I did is I went down, there it is there, I'm going to remove it. Okay, do that again. So it's gone now. So into quick access toolbar, more commands, commands not in the ribbon. Scroll down, find compare and merge, add it over. So you see it there and OK. And that's the feature that you use to do the compare and merge. So in the exam, it may be open. You may need to open it from Z Drive. Use this tool to compare and merge and open up the second version they're asking you for. And it should just automatically happen and then click on answer. So that's the final question on the weekly revision paper. And that's all of the lectures done. So it's most of the syllabus out the way. And then what we'll have a look at is look at the pre-online at a later date.